What's going on, guys? It's the Bigs Podcast. Today is episode 70. And today we are going to review the 2023 Bigs Draft. The draft happened last Sunday night. It took us a whopping 3 hours, but we got through it. It was a lot of fun. And now we're ready to digest and see where we think everybody is strong, where people may have had a miss. So we want to review where everybody did during the draft. Joining me tonight from New Jersey, the only Yankee fan that will ever appear on this show, Mike Haber. Mr. Haber, how are you?
Doing great, Jason. So excited to go through this draft with you. It's a day that we all look forward to every year. So it was fun. And as long as it was 3 hours plus. I feel like it came and went and it was done and it was over. And I was like, I want to do it again. But it was a lot of fun. And I'm excited to kind of dive in and analyze that now.
Yeah, and you know what? It was great having there was a whole bunch of us on the Zoom call during that, including some of the new guys. So it was really cool. It was really fun.
Yeah.
And now we're ready. Opening day is 2 days away. We are ready to kick this thing off.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Let's do it.
All right. So we're gonna go the first 8 teams of the draft, and then Joe and Ben will pick up the other 8 teams later on. So let's start with the first team that had the first pick overall, and that was Bryan Lebo, cousin Vinny. He started off with Trey Turner, and then had to sit around for 31 picks until he got to pick his next pick, which was Shane McClanahan. So, what do you think of Bryan's draft?
In general, I think he did a great job under the circumstances. I mean, this is picking first overall is it could be exciting, but it's also incredibly stressful to sit there. And I think Bryan said it in the actual Zoom that day, okay, well, that's 30 of my guys just going off the board. And and then I have 2 quick decisions to make, and then I do nothing for 20 minutes. So I think he did a great job under the circumstances. I think there may be a few holes in this team, but all in all, I think every team's going to have its holes, but I think he did a great job.
Yeah, and I agree with you, and that's why I never want to be on either end, especially of a big draft, because they're talking 16 teams. It takes forever to get back to you, and you're just watching all those guys just get plucked off one by one. It's kind of deflating almost, just watching all that. But you're right. I think given that he did do a good job of putting a solid team together.
Yeah.
Where do you think his biggest steal came from here?
Ooh, the biggest steal. That is a great question. I think I'm really into the Tyler Stevenson move. I like that pick a lot. This is a guy who, before the season started, manager said this guy's going to get 140 games this year, 145 games. So he's not just going to catch, he's probably going to get first base eligibility. And when he was healthy last year, he proved to be really, really solid. So I think he got him at a discount this year based on the injury last year. It was fascinating that he did pick 2 Cincinnati Reds in a row, and I think that we mentioned that during the draft.
Yes.
I mean, but if you're gonna get 2 Reds, he got the correct 2. So
yeah, those are the ones you're gonna get. I mean, there's really nobody else worth even bothering with.
Yeah, but yeah, I think round 11, pick 161 for Tyler Stevenson. I like that. I like that value there. What about you?
Yeah. You know what? I'm looking at Marcus Stroman here, and it's his SP5 that he got in the 19th round, and he just looked really good in the WBC this year.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, he's never going to be, a top-notch starter with 200 strikeouts or anything like that, but he's as solid as it gets, and to get him in the 19th round, I think that's pretty good value for that.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I mean, Stroman has always been good, but like I think he's got some motivation pitching for this like young, kind of fun underdog Cubs team, you know?
Yeah, like, and he wanted to go there. Like he could
Yeah.
have gone to any team during his free agency, and he went to the Cubs. He wants to be there. Um, like you said, the team is young, it's interesting, and look, are they competitive? Maybe, but he's going to pitch like they are.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. That's true. All right, where do we feel like maybe he reached a bit in this draft?
Yeah, I feel like Alex lands here in the 12th round. Tigers closer. He already has Ryan Helsley and David Bednar, a closer on another shitty team. And then he reached for round 12 to get the closer for a shitty Tigers team. Like, I guess it's, I know a lot of closers went off the board, like in what was it, like round like 8 or something like that, where they all just went all flying off the board.
Yeah.
So I guess he had to get what was left, but he already had two. I
Right.
don't know if he needed this guy here, but it'd be interesting to know, if he was targeting him or if he just kind of went, okay, I'll just take him.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. I do feel like at this point in the draft, he did not have a second he did have a second baseman, but he did not have a third baseman. And
Right.
I think left field. So he probably could have filled either one of those spots with a better bat.
Yeah.
Especially because I think the weakness in this team might be the infield. I mean, obviously Trey Turner is the best, but after that, you're putting a lot of faith in Vinny Pasquantino to like do what he, I guess, should do, and then you got Jonathan India and Brian Hayes, and that's your starting infield. And I think if he had, maybe picked a different piece there instead of Alex Lang, he could have like beefed his offense up a bit.
Yeah, because like I'm just looking back at like the draft and like he probably could have gone with like I don't know who's around, like Josh Rojas was around, Brandon Drury was around, so he could have beefed up that infield a little bit. Um, but you're right, but the thing is, like he didn't have a third baseman, but like we talked about how like if you didn't get those top 6 third basemen, you're probably just scrapping third base until like the mid or towards the end of the draft anyway. So maybe he followed that strategy.
Yeah, and maybe he likes Brian Hayes. Maybe he's pegging him for a nice season here. But I think that overall, I think this is a good team, but it's a good team with some question marks, right? Like, what is Ketel Marte this year? Does he does he find his form? Is Michael Harris the superstar that he was last year? Or does he have the sophomore slump?
I would say, Sean Manaea, like what is Sean Manaea like? Because we've seen good seasons out of him, and then he just was awful last year.
Yeah, and
I
Kyle
don't know.
Wright, is Kyle Wright gonna repeat what he did last year?
And he's starting off the year hurt, isn't he? So
right. So like
that's a red flag.
McClanahan and Gaussman cannot get hurt for this team.
Right. Yeah.
So
what bust you seen here?
I mentioned this on the relief show, but I think Helsley, he's a great pitcher. I'm probably gonna be wrong, but I feel like taking him in the 5th round, I don't know. It may be a little too high on this guy. He kind of came out of nowhere last year, and I could see him regressing. And they've got a lot of other strong arms in that pen. So
yeah, I do kind of wonder if that was more of a homer pick.
Yeah, and the closers were starting to go at that point, so he was like, "Let me grab my own closer here."
Yeah.
But yeah, I think 5th round. I mean, personally, I wasn't gonna touch a relief pitcher until like the 10th through 12th round anyway. I had decided that, but like fifth for me is a little high for someone who really only did this for 1 year, but who knows?
Yeah. All in all, like I said, for having that top pick,
Yeah.
and having to wait around a whole bunch of times, it's an interesting team. I think it's got some potential. Like I said, there's definitely some question marks, but we know that Bryan Lebo can make those work. He's done it before, so I'm not too worried about him.
No, and he's got the pieces to turn this team into a success. As long as he gets rid of Eric Hosmer, he's got the pieces to turn this team. So
we love our Eric Hosmer, don't we?
Yes, we love him.
While we're at it, get rid of Hector Neris too. While we're at it.
Yeah, true. You can get rid of him.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to our second team in the draft, and this was James McCloskey, who I think kind of shocked us all maybe when he took Shohei Ohtani second overall. I wasn't in the room yet. What was the reaction like?
It's exactly what you would expect. We were all like, "Oh," there was a gasp. It was audible. There was definitely some shock there. And you're good, you're committing to this as your utility spot every single day.
Yeah.
But if you treat it like a position, right? Like he's got one first baseman and that's going to be his first base spot. Like that's it. So if you treat that utility spot like it's just a one position spot, then great, he got the best one. So
yeah. It was
bold.
Yeah, bold. It's hard to call it a risk because it is Shohei Ohtani, who is, he is the unicorn of baseball. So it's hard to call it a risk, but it's definitely bold. Yeah, that's a good word for it.
Yeah.
Your thoughts of his draft? Let me scroll down here.
Yeah, so I like his outfield. I'm not thrilled with the infield. With Mountcastle, Segura, Alec Baum, and Tim Anderson. He does have Nico Horner there, but like out of those infielders, I feel like Tim Anderson is probably the most reliable. So like the Gene Segura, Alec Baum pairing, I'm just not big on either one of those players, but like they could have nice years.
I feel like Gene Segura should be more looked at more of like as a bench piece than your starting second baseman, and so I don't know if he's going to look to try and upgrade that, through the season. But
what's weird too is that this was 10th round. Gene Segura to me is like you can pick that up in the 15th, 16th, 17th round.
Yeah.
And wait, and even maybe find a better second base option. But
I mean, I think Jonathan India was still he picked Segura over Jonathan India.
Yeah.
Which over Whit Merrifield or over even dare I say it, DJ LeMahieu. So I mean there were definitely some options. Yeah, I think he probably could have waited. If Segura was the guy, he probably could have waited.
Yeah, I agree. But overall, I think again, like I think he did a good job for having second pick overall and waiting around. He's got a nice outfield. He's got a really good power speed balance, I think, on this team.
Yeah, with the Rosarena and Dallas Garcia and even Cody Bellinger, like there is some real potential in there.
Yeah, and the strikeouts are going to concern me for this team a bit.
Yeah.
Adalis, even Ohtani, Bellinger, Rosarena, those are all guys that they're great players, but they also strike out.
Renfroe, Duvall, these guys like to strike out.
Yeah.
I will say, you mentioned Nico Horner. I do like the Nico Horner pick in round 19. I think that's gonna be a fun guy to watch as he moves over to second base. And now he's gonna have second and shortstop eligibility, hitting on the top of that lineup. I like that pick at round 19. I think that's gonna bring back some good value.
But how wild is that Nico Horner goes round 19 and Gene Segura goes round 10? Like,
Yeah, that is very wild.
never would have expected that. But yeah, he got the value pick of Nico Horner was awesome. It was a
Yeah.
great pick.
And even Tony Gonsolin, who I know is going to start the year hurt, but like it's a sprained ankle. Like he'll be back,
Yeah.
in like
Yeah.
a month or so. And like he's always an injury risk, but if he's healthy, like and he puts together a good season, you get him around 15. That's a steal.
Yes, I saw him sitting there in the draft, and I was like, "There's no way in hell this guy's getting back to me." But between Gonsolin and Severino, he's got two stashes that could be difference makers for this team.
Yeah. Yeah.
And suddenly you're looking at a rotation that's, six men deep, and they're all really good arms. Right now, it's a little shorthanded. But when those two guys come back, it's going to be nice.
And even the bullpen is decent enough. Anchored by Jansen.
Yeah.
I know your love for Gregory Soto is paramount.
Nope.
And Tanner Scott is there in Miami. Don't know what to make of Dylan Coleman in Kansas City. Matt Barnes is another weird one in Miami, but like I like the Hunter Harvey pick. I think he may end up getting some opportunities there in Washington.
Yeah. Agreed. It's a bullpen that's solid enough to win him a couple of weeks, I think. I don't think he's gonna blow anyone away in saves. Jansen will get him the saves, and that may be it for a while. But you're right. We could see some from Hunter Harvey. We could see the occasional save from Soto, but like they just have too many arms in that bullpen. I'm not sure he'll get the opportunity, but we'll see.
Yeah. All right.
What did we do? The reaches and the.
I would say. I mean, I think Gene Segura really counts as like a reach.
Right.
What
do you think? Steal.
Yeah, I think it's got to be Nico Horner.
Okay.
I think. I mean, because I think that guy's he could bring back top 10 draft pick value if all goes well for him and the Cubs. So to get him 19th round, that's a good steal.
Yeah, definitely.
What do you think?
Yeah. I guess my reach would either be Segura or Baum.
Yeah.
Back to back in the 9th and 10th round. But as far as steal goes, I mean, Severino was sitting there for such a long time.
Yeah.
No one was touching him, but it's not even an arm issue.
But it's a repeating lat issue, which is what shut him down last year, wasn't it? So like I think that's but like I know he says it's not the same spot as it was last time,
right?
But I don't know how how much that matters.
Yeah, that's true.
But to your point, yeah, like him, like I said, him and Gonsolin, like those guys come back. If they come back in relatively short order and are the guys who they're capable of being, yeah, those are game changers.
Yeah, pair that with Kershaw and Woodruff and Bassett, like this is a scary rotation. So I like it.
Cool. All right. Number 3 team was Bobby Russo. He went ahead and took Jose Ramirez for his first overall pick. And I think you have to do that because we know that third base is a thin position, and he's the best one there is. So if you have the ability to grab him, you do it, right?
Yeah. And I feel like that third spot in the draft is actually really nice because it was like, okay, if you don't get Turner and someone takes Ramirez, like, all right, you got Judge there, you got some other options.
Yeah.
he had Judge and Ramirez available for him, and went with Ramirez, which is a great pick. It's so tough. It's so tough.
It is. It's because it's so, the top heavy of the draft is there's so much talent. You almost can't go wrong.
Yeah.
But it's the one that's gonna like set your whole strategy, right? So,
He was I would say he was probably expecting Judge to go second overall. So he
yeah,
sort of like had made up his mind, like I'm gonna take Ramirez. And then when
yeah,
Otani went, he was like, I'm gonna take Ramirez anyway. Like,
yeah. Yeah, that's definitely very fair and very possible.
yeah.
Um, your thoughts on Anthony Volpe going in the ninth round?
Oh, Volpe. Um, I was pissed when he took him because I thought that I was gonna be the person to reach for him. Um, and I wound up settling for Correa like a little bit later. So it's not a big deal, but at the same time, like I don't know if it's too early for him, but like this, he could return like superstar value. But I think that he probably could have drafted him in like the 11th or 12th round and
Yeah,
gotten away with it. But this kid could be a star. And I want to say just in general, like for maybe people watched the draft or didn't watch the draft, but I felt like Bobby was sniping me the entire draft, picking guys that like either I mentioned in like previous shows, like that I loved the guy, or a guy that was like just in my queue that I was sure I was going to be the one to reach for him, and then Bobby reached for him before me.
maybe he's
Um,
just taller.
yeah, it was like he was in my head, like the Corbin Carroll round 5 pick, the Volpe pick in round 9, the Jason Adam pick in round 12, the Marinaccio pick in round 14, Dylan Lee in 16. Like it was nonstop.
I, the Marinaccio pick in round 14, like I don't know, how far, where is he in the Yankee bullpen pecking order? I feel like he's like down, isn't he?
I don't think so. I think he's working his way up into like a really trustworthy spot. I don't think he's ahead of Clay Holmes or Michael King. Um,
Or
but
Is he ahead of Loizaga?
I maybe not Loizaga either, but I think I think he's definitely fourth in line there.
Okay.
Wandy Peralta is still somehow someone that's like trusted every day, but um, I think Marinaccio is that like that bridge to them. But I could see if Clay Holmes struggles, I could see this guy getting a shot in there if Aaron Boone doesn't want to like mess up the 7 and 8th inning bridge. I could
Sure.
see Marinaccio getting that shot.
Overall, I'm looking at his team here, and he has, I mean, okay, so he took Emmanuel Clase in the third round to kick
Uh-huh.
off the relief pitcher run. Like, and he was the
Yeah.
best one available without Diaz, so like you had to get him, right?
Yeah.
But then he goes uh Jason Adam, Dominguez, Marinaccio, Dylan Lee, Scott whatever, Colin McHugh, like he just goes on this run of relief pitching that like, and I think Robert Suarez down towards the end. But like
Yeah.
I feel like he kind of went just relief pitcher heavy.
Yeah, but it seemed like his strategy was like, I'm gonna get Class A super early, and that way I can win saves any week, or
Yeah,
I can win this stat at any time, right? And then I don't have to touch relief pitchers again until round, when was it? Jason Adam was round 12.
12. Yeah,
So he
yeah.
goes round 3, drafts the best closer in baseball, and then does not even look at the position again until round 12. So I think that was intentional. And
Yeah, and look, I mean, Jason Adam and Dominguez back to back. These are
yeah,
guys who could both see some save opportunities,
yeah,
but they don't have to bring back
right.
any kind of value for you.
Right, because they're both great pitchers, so it doesn't
Right,
matter if they don't get you saves.
right. And they're on winning ball clubs, so you can get a win from them. You get strikeouts, your ERA, your relief appearances. They're going, so yeah, you're making a good point.
Yeah. And I also want to say, and just in general about this draft, like he is putting a ton of faith in the youth of baseball.
Yes.
Like you got
Yes.
Adley, you've got Volpe, you've got Corbin Carroll, Lars Nootbaar, MJ Melendez, and Riley Green. There's 6 players out of the starting 9. Like your only true veterans are Christian Walker, Cronenworth, and Jose Ramirez.
Yeah. Yeah. That's on the offensive side of it. He's very young. But like he kept, right with Bobby that kept like begging for a second baseman all draft, right? But
Yeah.
he has Cronenworth, so like it's not nothing. And you can move
No.
him around.
I think at a certain point, Cronenworth was sitting in that first base slot. I
Mm.
don't know when he got Christian Walker, but hold on. When did he pick Walker? So round 11.
Round 11. So 3 rounds
Maybe.
after Cronenworth.
Yeah. So I don't. When was he searching for a second baseman?
Right. I thought it was him that was
It
like,
was.
right. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know why. I mean, he ended up bringing up Wilmer Flores towards the end of the draft as kind of a backup infielder, which is
Yeah.
fine. That's what he is, especially if he's facing a lefty.
Yeah.
Um, all right. Where do we think the biggest steal is coming from here?
Um. Man, it's a tough call because he took a lot of risks on these young players.
Yeah.
Um. I don't know. I mean, he got Adley Rutschman in a good spot.
He pretty much got everybody where like you would expect to get them, I think, right?
Yeah, he definitely reached for a bunch of these young guys, but
Yeah.
uh, I was also kind of pissed at the Max Fried pick because I really wanted him this year. So I think, the beginning of round 4 after right before Kevin Gausman, like I think that was a great spot to draft Max Fried, especially with Nola. Like that is a scary 1-2 punch.
Well, I like you said, that's probably his strategy because after those two, it's Kenta Maeda, and
Right.
then like it's all bullpen except for the Cubs fifth starter and an injured Lance McCullers. So like, but yeah, with that 1-2 punch, you can put together that kind of a bullpen and be okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. He's probably going to be inching his way to the minimum every week with the staff. I mean,
Yeah, but it's Bobby. He'll
he'll make
figure
it.
it out.
Yeah, he'll
Yeah.
make it for sure. Yeah.
Um. Yeah, I don't really see much of a like you said. I don't see much of a steal.
Right. And it's
You
not that
know,
he didn't do a great job because he did. It's
right.
just he took risks on all of these young players that I think he probably could have gotten a little bit later, but that's all.
I mean, maybe the Harrison Bader pick down around 23. Like, if
Maybe.
he comes back and like it can get some regular playing time, like maybe that's a guy that moves up the value. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Who do you think is the biggest reach here?
Um,
Do you not
I,
believe in Anthony Volpe?
yeah, I no, I don't believe in Ron Marinaccio. Like, I don't know. Maybe I don't know enough about him on the other side of the town, but
Yeah.
I just feel like there's more arms in that pen that are going to get more chances than him to do anything worth a 14th round pick.
Yeah, 14. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think he necessarily warrants a 14th round pick.
Yeah, like I could see him in like the 20th round, and
Yeah,
like he's one of those guys.
yeah, agreed. Definitely agreed. Um, yeah, I mean, I think I like Lars Nootbaar, but I also don't necessarily I'm not sure I would draft him where he drafted him. I've never been a Jake Cronenworth fan. I don't know what it
Yeah,
is. I just never really been a fan of him. He's position eligible, which is great, but I wouldn't take him in the 8th round personally.
that's what you're drafting for both of those guys. I think
Yeah.
is the eligibility to be able to move them around.
Yeah.
Newbar, I mean, he looked good in the WBC, and he obviously looked good last year in limited playing time, but you don't really know him yet. And the Cardinals have options if he, fails. So it's a risk. But like you said,
Yeah.
that's part of his draft here was a lot of risk for these young guys.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see how it turns out for him, but it's fun to root for a young team, and Bobby gets to do that all year. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
All right, moving down to number 4, Bumpin' Uglas, good old Ari Nisman, who I think the main takeaway from maybe the entire draft is that he drafted a bullpen.
He did. He did draft a bullpen.
And not just one reliever, but I think he got two.
And Chapman.
Yeah. Yeah. So you got Chapman and Clay Holmes, and Scott Barlow. So he's got a bona fide bullpen going here.
He does. He has two teams that could get him saves, Yankees and Royals. He just added Brooks Raley today.
Yep.
So he's building a little pen here.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
I'm curious to know the inspiration or what triggered this change of mentality.
Maybe conversations with his brother, or maybe just conforming a bit more to the norm of the league.
Yeah.
But this guy is no longer foregoing the category of saves.
Right. So kudos to that, because now, he's not. You actually have to play your relievers when you face him.
Yeah. Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Yes, you do.
And look, he was able to get Aaron Judge for his first pick, and backed it up with Bo Bichette. Those are 2 top-notch hitters to go, for your first 2 picks. That's solid.
Yeah. Bo Bichette fell very far in this draft.
He did.
I don't know why he fell all the way back to where he fell. Bobby Witt was drafted in front of him. There were a lot of players that I feel like maybe there were drafts that I have done that Bo Bichette was going in the first round, 15th overall, 13th, but
it seems like, I'm looking at the round also, and this was definitely the starting pitcher round in round 2.
Yeah.
You had Strider, Verlander, Scherzer, Cole, DeGrom, Burns, Alcantara. They all went before it got back to Ari. So he probably said, you know what, all right, I'll take Bichette, and backed it up with Shane Bieber. So he still ended up with, an ace and 2 huge hitters.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think he did an awesome job in this draft. He has a scary rotation with Bieber, Luis Castillo, Blake Snell, not to mention Jeffrey Springs, who's awesome, and also not to mention Lucas Giolito, who he got pretty late in this draft as a number 5 starter.
And also Hunter Brown, here he's a 5th starter for the Astros, and that's not nothing.
No, it's not.
He can, so they have high hopes for him. So this is a good staff. This team is balanced. I really like what he did here. You're absolutely right. He had a really good draft.
He did. His outfield is killer, with Judge Teoscar and Masataka Yoshida. His infield, other than Bichette, is a little scary depth-wise, with Joey Meneses at first base, Brandon Drury at second, and Ryan McMahon at third. I know Polanco is hurt right now, so I know when Polanco comes back, that's going to give him some reimbursement. He also has Josh Young on the bench right now, so that could be a third base option for him. So he's got places to go here if those players don't perform. But he doesn't really have a first baseman other than Meneses.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna go out and say that I think that's my reach. I don't like this guy at all.
I know you don't.
Yeah, and look, I like some of these guys. I like some of the kids on the Nationals. I don't know that he's a kid, and I don't buy it. So that's my reach for his draft.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. But I'm like just looking at his first 9 rounds, I feel like he was pretty impeccable with what he did. Like there were no misses, I think, in those first 9 rounds.
Yeah, yeah.
Giolito was great for round 10, but and Yoshida for 12. But yeah, I think the first half of his draft was spot on.
Yeah, he absolutely did exactly what he needed to do. It looks on paper, it looks great. It looks great.
Yes.
He got his closer, he got his bats, and he got his aces. Like,
yeah,
that's what you need.
Yeah, it's true. This could be a very scary team. He also sniped Shea Langoliers from me.
Me too.
Yeah, he probably wouldn't have gotten back to me, but definitely sniped him.
Yeah.
I really like the Josh Young pick in round 20. I feel like that's the steal for me because that could be his starting third baseman. And there's a lot of positivity surrounding that kid on an up and coming Texas team. So
Yep. Yeah, and I love this Hunter Brown pick at 15. I was going for him if it had gotten back to me, I would have grabbed him. RP eligible, he's going to start for the Astros. Like, that's a great pick.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. From one Bigs veteran to the next, Kershaw for Passover, Mike Sherman. It seemed like a very kind of Shermanish kind of draft for him. I like what he puts together here. It's nothing really stands out to me, but it's just a good, solid team.
Okay. Yeah.
What do you feel?
I agree with you. I think the Acuna and Albies pairing is very interesting. Like that could really do some damage if the Braves have a big week and you got the two of those guys at the top of the lineup, like setting the table and scoring, 15 runs a week. Like that's something that's scary. He took Bobby Witt in, I think, a pretty nice spot for Bobby Witt. Like the second round, I feel like he did a good job with that. I don't think that there's any holes in the offense here, other than maybe that utility spot. I'm not sure what Mitch Haniger is going to be, but he can fill that with anything, I guess.
Yeah, and even like Patrick Wisdom down here is a 22nd round pick, so you're not committed to him, but he's going to play for the Cubs, and he's got the eligibility. So like, he's a guy you can at least plug in there and hope for a home run or something.
Yeah, you do have to hope Andrew Vaughn kind of fills those Jose Abreu shoes, and he can be that high quality first base fantasy option. I'm not sure that he is, but if there was any like quote unquote weakness on this team, I think it would be that first base slot. But like he's got enough pieces here to back it up with Albies, Witt, Acuna, Buxton, Tyler O'Neill, who I love. Like this is a good team. This is a good offensive team.
Yeah. I just, you have to cringe when you see Byron Buxton because he's made of glass. So like, it's a risk. But around 6, I think you're okay with that. So I felt Kodai Senga was a little aggressive in round 12, especially because we don't really know him and how he's going to translate from Japan. But he's playing on the Mets, so like There's obviously win potential. I don't know if I would take him there.
Yeah, I mean, in general, the pitching staff it leaves a bit to be desired. Because after Ohtani and Javier, like I'm not sure what you have here.
Yeah, Dolo and Senga and Barrios.
Right. And then even the bullpen, like you've got David Robertson, who I guess should get you some saves, but then it's a bunch of guys that are either setup guys or a little meh or play for crap teams. So, yeah, I think that if you can build off that offense and maybe get rid of some of those bench pieces and maybe even get some trade going for like a really solid number 3 starter, then I would fear this team a lot more, I think.
Yeah, that's a good call.
But he did great with the offense. And Shohei Ohtani and Christian Javier are an excellent top 2 pitchers. Like, don't get me wrong. So they could carry him, but you just have to hope that the 2 of them can stay healthy and keep pitching.
Where are you seeing a good steal?
I think honestly, maybe it's not a steal, but I really like where he drafted Jeremy Pena because I think that this kid could take some leaps this year and be like a top 10 shortstop. I could see it happening.
Yeah.
And he he waited on all the other shortstops and settled for Jeremy Pena, and Pena could return the same value as someone like I don't know, Tim Anderson.
Yeah, Tim Anderson or Dansby Swanson.
Dansby Swanson, yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah. So you're absolutely right. Like he got him in the ninth round when all the other shortstops were going in the third and fourth rounds. So yeah, he was able to get Ohtani and Javier and Albies, and then settle for Jeremy Pena. So yeah,
Right.
it's a great pick.
Yeah. You have a different steal here?
Not really, but I will call out Jorge Mateo, because of the speed.
Yeah.
He could win him stolen bases every year or every week, just himself. The problem is him and Pena are both only shortstop eligible, so he's gonna have to plug him into the utility spot if he wants to play both of them. But he could single-handedly win stolen bases every week because with the new rules, I mean, if he's playing every day, there's no reason that he can't steal 50 bases.
Yeah, agreed. But I think you mentioned the biggest issue here is like, I know Bobby Witt's your third baseman, right? But he's shortstop eligible. You've got Pena, you've got Mateo, and you've got Ezequiel Tovar.
Yeah.
So you've got 4 shortstops on this team, which you probably don't need all 4 of them. And I think that all of them are pretty decent to the point where like you could get something back.
Sure. Yeah. Especially if Tovar is the interesting one, I think, because if he starts out hot in Colorado, like, yeah, you could definitely make a trade for that guy.
Yeah. 100%. I'm gonna highlight just 2 pitchers here that I think maybe were taken a bit early. Nick Lodolo, who I don't really know enough about, but I don't know that I would trust any Reds pitcher right now. I know you mentioned Senga. I didn't want to get anywhere near Jose Barrios this year. I just didn't want to like venture down that road. If he was there in round 25, I would maybe consider it. But to me, round 15, like, hey, maybe he has a huge bounce back and this will prove to be a great pick, but he had a full year last year to find it and he never did. So
yeah. The Lodolo pick is interesting in round 11 because, like, looking at who was available, though, like, you had where is he? He was around 11. So, like, you had Lance Lynn was available. You had Tyler Glasnow was available. Joe Ryan, Chris Bassett. Like, there were some guys available, but like there was nobody that was like, I really should have taken this guy instead. Like, So like,
I mean, I would have taken Dustin May or Chris Sale over Nick Lodolo, but
true. Yeah. And they were both available.
yeah,
Um, yeah. Or even Pablo Lopez was available too.
Lopez,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. We'll see. We'll see how that plays out for him. But like I said, overall, I think it's a decent enough team that it should be competitive. Again, Sherman's been doing this for a long time, so
Yes.
um, I think he'll be able to figure it out.
Yeah, and he's got lots of eligibility and pieces he can move around, and so he did a great job, making sure that if there's injuries, he can most likely cover it and be
Yeah.
good. So
Yeah.
yep.
Cool. From one veteran to another, our good friend Joe Schubert, Yandy Warhol, named after, of course, his brother from another mother, Yandy Diaz, who, where did he end up getting him? Round 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was
Like I
he's
spent
gonna
all draft just waiting for him to take him,
yeah.
and he finally did it in round 10.
Yep. Yeah, and he didn't have a first baseman at the time, so I don't know if this was him maybe panicking that if he waited any longer, Diaz would be gone and he wouldn't have a first baseman, or if he was thrilled to get him in round 10. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if if he was like, I better grab him now, even though it's too early, or if he was like, nice, he's here round 10. This is perfect. So
Right. I mean, if it wasn't Diaz, other first basemen that were available, Joey Meneses, Anthony Rizzo, Luis Ariz. So like, I think of all those guys who were available, Diaz was the guy that he wanted anyway. So no, I
yeah,
think he's probably very happy to have gotten him there.
yeah, yeah. And just looking at his team in general, obviously Jared Kelenic and AJ Pollock, maybe the only like sort of weaknesses in the team, but Kelnick could be great. Who knows?
Yeah.
Pollock is probably more of a backup bench bat when Jordan Walker gets outfield eligibility. Um, I think he did a great job piecing this team together as far as eligibility goes. He can put Mookie Betts where he wants in second or right field because he's got Muncy to plug in. He
Yep.
also has Altuve that's like just waiting to return probably in June. This is going to be a scary offense when all pieces are together here.
The Altuve pick was interesting because seventh round and I think you mentioned it in the draft too. Is like, how will this injury affect him? Like, okay, he comes back in 2 months, but like we've seen thumb injuries just derail guys before,
Yep.
and he's not a power guy, so he's really more of that contact guy. Um, I don't know how this is going to affect him coming back. But to your point, and I think also Joe kind of mentioned this in the draft too, he doesn't need Altuve to be the guy because
No.
he's got Betts, he's got Muncy, he's got guys he can move around.
Yeah.
So if Altuve is just a fraction of what he usually is, oh well, he'll live.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. He's putting the same faith in the White Sox players that I put last year. He has the same tandem of Grandal and Eloy that I had last year. It did not pan out for me,
Yep.
but it could for Joe. If Eloy gets hurt or anything happens with him, the outfield is where I see the biggest question mark here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even when Walker gets the outfield eligibility, look, Walker is this huge prospect, but there's all the chance in the world that he could flop.
Yeah.
We've seen that
Yeah.
happen too. So you're putting a lot of stake into this guy, into this kid. And you're right. I mean, Kalanick is that guy, right? That we had all the hope for, and he's just been awful. He's been great this spring, so maybe there's some hope there. And I know the Pollock pick was to back up Kalanick because if Kalanick loses playing time, it'd probably be to Pollock.
Yeah.
So, what do you think of the bullpen?
I mean, I think Joe enjoys the strategy of like, I'm gonna add every single setup guy, and if anything happens to any of these closers, I've got the next guy in line. I don't have to waste a high or spend a high draft pick on the next guy in line. And we've seen Joe do this in the past, and then he, either closers get hurt or he trades
Yep.
from his strength, which is the starting pitching, trades from that to add more bullpen pieces. Like I think this is fine to start. I don't think it's strength for him, but I think it's a fine start. Maybe Michael Fulmer is the closer. Maybe Miguel Castro gets opportunities. Maybe Paul Sewald is the closer, but like, yeah, this would scare me personally just to have like nobody as at least one person getting me saves.
Right,
Like
a surefire opportunity for
Yeah.
saves. I mean, Seawald is probably gonna be the guy for now, but
Yeah.
you're right. If something happens to Helsley, he's got Gallegos. If something happens to Clay Holmes, he's got Loizaga. If something happens to Devin Williams, he's got Matt Bush. Like, right, he's got all of the backup guys who are gonna pitch. Like, he's gonna get innings. He's gonna get the relief appearances.
Yeah.
It's just saves might be a little bit of a deficiency.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I don't think it's a strength of his, but I don't think it's going to necessarily detract either, because they're all good pitchers.
Yeah, Taylor Rogers too.
Yeah, Taylor Rogers.
San Francisco. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I don't really think there's like I don't think there are glaring holes on this team. I think he built it really well. He, like he always does, found his value picks, stashing the injuries like Altuve in class now.
Yeah.
It's what he does best, and he proved it again that, he's patient. He waits around for these guys to get healthy, and then suddenly his team is a powerhouse. So I don't know.
What are you seeing as a steal? You seeing any steals here?
I mean, I gotta go Glass now.
Yeah.
Like this guy is not, it's not an arm issue. He's gonna be back in May, most likely. And when he is back, like, if that's Joe's number 3, that's scary.
If he's healthy, though,
If he's healthy.
He is probably and his Glass is in his name. Like, he's probably the most glassy pitcher in baseball. Like, I just feel like one wrong step, one wrong throw, and he's out for the year. But we'll see. We'll see. I was avoiding him because he's too risky for me. But you're right. At round 12, like, he could come back and win Joe the league practically.
Right. And at that point in round 12, you already have your 2 aces. You already have your team kind of built. So like, you could stash this guy and then tread water, right? And get the wins where you can take them. And then when this guy comes back, you can start that domination run if he comes back at full strength. What's your steal here?
I love the Robbie Ray pick in round 6 to pair with Alcantara. Like, that is a great 1-2 punch, and he didn't have to do it back to back. Like, he was able to wait and shore up his offense and still pick up Robbie Ray, who's gonna pile up all the strikeouts. So like, that's a great 1-2 punch, and I think he did that perfectly.
Yeah, agreed. Did you think he reached for anyone?
He probably reached a little bit for Yandy.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, I don't know how many of us were really that into him as much as he was, but again, I think he took him the right spot for him.
Right.
I just think for the rest of us, he probably could have waited.
Yeah, agreed. All right, cool.
All right, moving down to Kostas Paragios. Another interesting draft for Kostas. there's some question marks here, I think. Things I'm not sure I would have done. I don't know how they're going to play out, but what are you seeing here from Kostas?
Well, we're seeing, I think the word that we're looking for is compensation. He compensated for his draft last year.
Yeah. Okay.
Overcompensation, I guess you can call it. He did not take a relief pitcher until what round? 14?
14. Brad Boxberger.
So this is the manager that we saw last year just go crazy with closers. He drafted, I think it was 4 in the first 6 rounds, if I remember correctly.
Sounds about right.
4 closers in the first 6 rounds. It was Hader and someone else back to back.
Liam Hendricks.
Liam Hendricks and Hader back to back. And I think, the results of that draft, it caught up to him, and he didn't make the playoffs, and he was probably frustrated about it. So I think he overcompensated a bit. Look, I think he did get some good value picks here. Like, he took Freeman really high in this draft. But I guess the theme was like, go get your guy, right? That was the theme of this draft.
Yeah.
And he wanted Freeman, and he went and he got him, and that, that's good. That's great for him. He also took the gamble on Tatis being the superstar, coming back and being that same player. I don't know. What are your thoughts in general?
I really like his first 5 picks. I think those were fantastic picks. Manoah and Zach Gallen is great.
Yes.
After that, it definitely gets a little hairy for me. So he has JT Realmuto, and then he drafts Alejandro Kirk, and then he drafts JD Martinez. And those are 3 guys for 2 positions, because I don't think you're going to see JD Martinez play the outfield this year. So
I don't think so either.
So why have Kirk if you have Realmuto? You're only going to play Kirk when Realmuto is not playing, which is not very often. So I feel like he probably could have done something better here than Kirk.
Maybe a closer.
Right. Because, and you're right, he didn't take a reliever until the 14th round.
Right.
And then look what he did. Boxberger, Finnegan, King, Mantiply, Steffen, Will Smith, Griffin Jacks, like Jake Diekman. I mean, he just went relief crazy here in the bottom half for guys that are okay. There probably could have been something he could have done better than Kirk here, or even JD Martinez. I don't know that you needed JD Martinez either for your utility spot.
Right. Yeah. One thing I will say about his draft, though, is that he can cover all of his positions really, really well. And I'm sure he did that on purpose, but like the eligibility of this team is off the charts.
Yes. Rosario and LeMahieu and McCarthy and yeah.
So he's covering his bases here. He's got some speed, he's got some power. I believe when he drafted Stanton, the words out of his mouth were power. So, to which Frank responded, strikeouts. But
I mean, you're gonna get that with any power hitter, right? Is a strikeout. So
yeah, you're gonna get that with any hitter. He's counting on some bounce backs here with DJ, LeMahieu, and Stanton.
And even JD Martinez to an extent.
And even JD Martinez, and Tatis. So guys that, he's really putting a lot of faith in.
I'll also call out that Tristan McKenzie is going to be shut down for at least 8 weeks. So that's a blow. Yeah.
Wow. All right.
So that's number 3, which is all right. But after that, he's got Hunter Green and Alex Cobb. So he may need to figure out a way to weather not having his 7th round pick for a couple months.
Yeah, that is rough. And I know Joe Mantiply just went on the IL today as well.
Oh, did
So,
he really?
yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
now Kostas is dealing with a little bit of an injury bump here.
Mhm. Yeah.
Not to mention Tatis won't be here until the third weekend.
Yeah.
So he's gonna have to weather the storm in these first couple of weeks. He's got me. We're playing against each other in this long week.
Oh boy. These
Which will
guys
be
work
fun.
out for him.
What?
These guys work out for him then. It's gonna be tough.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean it's again, I don't think this is a bad team by any means. I think that he can hit. And I think what we're seeing here is like the top, everyone's got a top two pitchers for the most part
Yeah.
that like, okay, these are my aces. And then everything else after that is somewhat of a question mark. Um, and that's why I feel like, and I didn't say this to you earlier, but like, I feel like this year, every team is equally kind of balanced and scary and potentially dangerous. I don't really see any like weak teams, even the ones that we're not covering tonight.
Yeah. Yeah. Coming out of the draft, everybody seemed really balanced. But this is where now we're gonna start seeing some separation is when you start losing guys like Tristan McKenzie
Yes.
for 2 months, or
Right. Right.
when the injuries start popping up, this is where it's going to get interesting, or people get cut or people get sent down or whatever,
Yeah.
and how you can manage to weather that storm.
Yes. Yeah. Agreed. So yeah, he's gonna have to weather this from the pitching end, and again hope that Manoah and Gallen hold up,
Yep.
just like we talked about earlier, the Otani and Christian Javier thing.
Exactly. Yep.
So,
For a steal, I love the Ahmed Rosario pick.
yeah, that's a good one.
I mean, some people may say that's a reach in round 8, but to have a guy who he's got shortstop and left field eligibility, which is so rare, and he's a 2020 threat. We've seen it, so I love that pick. I love that pick for him. Like you said, this team is built very well. We've been talking about Tatis is going to have all that eligibility too, because he's going to play in the outfield too. So you're right. You're absolutely right. He's going to be able to move these guys around pretty easily, except for the Real Mucho Kirk, JD Martinez. He'll have to figure out how to make that work. But other than that, he has a really good shot here moving people around.
He does. And if he needs to, he can deal one of those top tier catchers for some sort of arm. So
yeah, because I'll just say it, Joe's banking on Yasmani Grandal to be his only catcher. Just saying.
yeah, and I'm sure Joe would happily take Alejandro Kirk off of Kostas' hands.
Yep.
All right. Did we both do our reaches and all that?
My reach is gonna be DJ LeMahieu in round 12.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how much playing time. I mean, is he gonna play? Is he not gonna play? I don't know where he's.
I know for opening day he is our leadoff hitter, but that's all I know right now.
Okay. I mean, maybe there's something there, but I just, again, you're drafting for the eligibility to be able to move around the infield, which is again is great because I see that happening in this team. I just don't like him.
I know you've never liked him.
No.
I think the Hunter Green pick for me is the reach.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hype around him, but again, it's similar to what we talked about with Nick Lodolo. I just don't necessarily buy into the Reds pitching staff. He showed some glimpses of greatness last year, but you're pitching in that ballpark for half of your starts, and I don't know.
And he already has a home run problem in one of the worst places to have a home run problem. So,
I do really. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say I do really like the Michael King pick though. Like I was hoping he would have gone back to me in that round. He was in my queue. So
see, I felt the same way about the Trevor Stephan pick.
Okay.
Because I know they have Clase and they have Karinchak, and this guy's probably next, but like he could surpass Karinchak. Like he looked really good last year, and you get him in the 21st round. Like this is a guy that can bring back some really good value late in the draft. And also the Derek Hall pick is interesting too, because he also only has utility right now, but he's probably going to get first base.
Yep.
Now with Hoskins out, and he's going to play every day with Hoskins and Harper out. He's going to play every day in the middle of that Phillies lineup. I don't know what this guy is, but he's got access to that. So,
but it's also like, where is Kostas going to play him?
Right.
the Real Muto, Kirk, and JD Martinez logjam. I think Derek Hall just is another pice of that logjam that he's going to
right. Because even when he gets first base, you're not starting him over Freeman. So
no.
But these are guys again that he can trade from, and maybe find a starter to replace Tristan McKenzie, or something like that.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
All right, we're gonna move on to our final team of this episode, and that's gonna be your brother, Josh Haber.
I do want to say, he just changed his team name, so I don't know if you want to refresh.
Oh, let's take a look.
He did just change his team name.
Arts and Farts and Ashcrafts. Okay, I like that. That's well done, Josh Haber. Well done.
I just saw it there, and I was like, I have to inform Jason now before we move forward.
Yes. Now we can talk about your brother's draft.
Okay.
I don't know if you've spoken to him, but how's he feeling? How do you feel?
I'm really impressed. I think he did an awesome job with this draft. I know for a fact he was not thrilled drafting in the 8th spot. And there were certain, like, we were texting each other the entire draft, and there were certain points where he was at a high, he was at a low. He was like, oh, great, another year, and I don't have a pitching staff. But like, he filled it up, and he did a good job. Unfortunately, Christopher Morel was his starting center fielder, and he just got sent down. And so I know that center field for him is going to be a struggle if Garrett Mitchell doesn't necessarily perform.
Right. And I mean, and he could, he's there's a lot of hype around him, but you're right. There's no guarantee that he's going to.
Right. And the other thing though, is Jazz Chisholm will get center field eligibility, but then you need a second baseman to plug in there, and he doesn't have that. So he needs to sort of weigh.
Yeah. I know he picked up Dylan Moore for that drop of Christopher Morel. But he's hurt. So, don't really know when he's going to be back.
Right.
He's dealing with an oblique injury. So yeah, that's going to be a tough road to lead.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, the core of this team, I think, is excellent. Like Jazz Chisholm, Austin Riley, Xander Bogaerts, Yordan Alvarez, like that core 4 of the offense is
that's scary.
Yeah, that can carry any team. And even like just isolated Yordan and Austin Riley, like the power that those 2 players can get you close to 80 home runs.
Exactly. I was going to say they're each 40 home run caliber guys.
Yeah.
And then Jazz and Bogaerts give you that power speed combination, you know. So even if they're 20-20 guys, like you'll take that.
Yep. And Castellanos got to hope for a bounce back.
I'm curious, was the Dodger bullpen a strategy, or did he just kind of fall into having the entire Dodger bullpen?
I am not sure if he started off with that strategy in mind, but I do know that when he drafted Evan Phillips and it came back around to him and Brusdar Graterol was there, he was like, I'm running with this, because these are obviously the 2 front runners for this. But just in case, let me grab Alex Vesia. Wait, just in case, let me grab Daniel Hudson. And it just sort of like worked out for him that every time it came back to him, the next guy up was available. So.
Yeah, I mean that's some interesting luck. I'll call it lucky strategy. Maybe I'll call it. Because like I'm looking like, okay, so he took Graterol in the 10th round, and after that, like there were guys like there was Jason Adam Ottavino, Craig Kimbrell, Seranthony Dominguez, like not guys that you were gonna bank on for saves anyway. So why not pair those two guys together? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like that's what I would have done. Like if I had gotten like Jean Duran, right? I would have tried to get Jorge Lopez, like because I feel like that's kind of the same dynamic, right?
Right. Yeah, no, it worked out for him. The pieces fell to him. I do know that, round, I would say round 9 or 10, he was at a low point because of the starting pitching.
Yeah. But look, I mean, he got Luis Garcia in the 13th round, who I think could really be that's my steal right there. Like,
is that okay?
To get Luis Garcia in the 13th round, I think that's a great pick. I like this kid. I know he had to change his windup for the rules, but I mean, any pitcher on the Astros, you're guaranteed like 10 wins, right? At least.
Yes.
And he can strike out the world. I like this pick at 200 overall.
Yeah. And I like the Dustin May pick too. I mean, who knows if this guy will be on an innings limit, but when he's pitching, he's going to be awesome. And like, even Edward Cabrera as a 4, like the upside is awesome. I think for someone who waited and panicked for starting pitching, like I've seen much worse rotations than what people.
Even Tyler Anderson, like, is not nothing. I mean, he just pitched the other day against his former team, the Dodgers, and looked really good. Even Asshat down here has had a good spring. So look, he pieced it together. I don't think it's going to be as bad as he seems to think it's going to be.
No.
I wonder how the Tristan Kostas and the Anthony Rizzo dynamic, 2 first base only guys.
Mm-hmm.
So is he planning on playing both of them every day, I guess?
I mean, looking at his bench, I would assume that's the plan, is to just play those guys. That's a decision you don't have to make ever. And I know he's got De La Cruz and Dylan Moore, who's injured, on the bench, but like there's not a lot of eligibility options for him here. So it's
right. Not right. Like you said, not a lot to think about.
No, like Jazz Chisholm will have second and center. Otherwise, like everyone has one position and that's it. So
but again, that takes kind of the guesswork out of it, right? The one thing about going back to the Dodger bullpen thing is the one thing that concerns me. That's not much of a concern, I guess, but one thing to think about is when the Dodgers are off, none of those guys are playing.
Correct. So you've got to either pick up. I mean, he's got Aaron Loop down there on the bench.
Yeah.
So he's got Felix Bautista, Alexis Diaz, and Penn Murphy, and
Daniel Hudson's going to go on the injured list, so he'll be able to pick somebody up short term. But yeah, you're right. He's going to need to kind of have a revolving door for when the Dodgers aren't playing.
Yeah, I don't know if Dylan Moore is also going to go on the IL, but if he does, then you've got
another spot. Yeah,
you've got 2 spots opened up for him. So you just got to hope that nothing happens injury wise to the offense.
Yeah. One injury to any of these guys, and you're in a rough shape.
Yeah. All right. What was let's see, his biggest steal here?
I went with Luis Garcia. What do you got?
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Some really good picks here, but I'm gonna go Dustin May.
Yeah.
I was eyeing him this entire draft season and wanted a piece of that. And he got him in the 11th round, which I think is awesome. And I think this guy, when he does pitch, he could be returning top 10 pitcher value. I just don't know that he'll do that all season. but
Yeah.
still.
I also like where he got Gabriel Moreno in round 14 as his like that's his everyday catcher, and he's gonna get everyday reps with Carson
Yeah.
Kelly out. So I think that's a great pick.
Yeah. I agree.
I do think there may have been a reach for like I'm just not a big believer in Logan Webb. Maybe it's just because I don't like the Giants. He's kind of like I feel like he's like an expensive man's Marcus Stroman, right? Like
Okay.
ground ball guy, not too big on the strikeouts on a okay team, but you have to pay a heavy price for him because he's better. I just don't know. I would have picked him in the 6th round, but I also know that he was struggling with his starting staff, so he kind of didn't really have a choice. But
Right.
I still don't. I don't love the pick, but I get it.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, I agree with that assessment. I'm not sure I can maybe pinpoint any other reaches. I know that he took Jazz a little earlier than his ADP, but I think
Yeah.
I know my brother, and I think in any draft that he did this season, he made sure he had Jazz Chisholm on his team. So he has high hopes for him.
Yeah, and look again, if he's healthy and it all goes well, that's a great pick. Like again, You're talking possible 30-30 candidate. If he plays a full season.
Yeah, I told Josh he needs to dye his hair blue, just in support of Jazz. So I don't know if he'll do that, but
with a hint of orange. Let's go Mets.
the hint of orange, exactly. Real quick before we're done here, what are your thoughts on your team? Are you happy? Do you have regrets? Are you frustrated?
I like my team. I think and Joe and Ben will get into this, but I think I took a lot.
Yeah.
I think I took a lot more risks than I usually do in our drafts this year. Like I took Andres Munoz really early. I took guys who are hurt. I took guys who have been hurt. I just I went a lot of risky moves that I'm hoping will pay off. And then where I won't have to make a whole lot of trades. But like, I mean, the Grayson Rodriguez pick has already shot me in the ass because I thought he was a shoo-in for the rotation,
Me too.
and now he's not even on the big league roster. So like that sucks. But I'm good enough with it. I'm happy enough with it. I think I have some good pieces that can move around.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. How about you? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. I also took a risk I don't usually take, but getting Bryce Harper in the 10th round, I'm really excited about that. Just to have that guy come back, even if it is on the later side, which there's a chance he could come back before the end of May. But even if it's June, like that's 3.5 months of Bryce Harper on my team, getting him in the 10th round. Like even if he's 70% of Bryce Harper, like I'm thrilled with that. I think for me, I'm nervous about bridging the gap until he gets back and like that right field hole. I also don't know necessarily like my rotation after the top 4, but I like Verlander, Musgrove, and Kirby. I don't usually have a top 3 like that, so I feel really happy about that.
As you should.
And Reed Detmer's like upside, I think, is awesome. But yeah, I think I'd feel better with like one more bullpen arm, one more like number 4, number 5 pitcher, and then like a little more insurance in right field. But those are the 3 things that I feel like I would make me feel a lot more comfortable. But otherwise, I think I'm pretty pleased with the draft.
I'll be honest, like I missed out on those top 6 third basemen, right? The Riley Devers, Bregman, I missed out on those 6 that we was talking about. And so the whole rest of the draft, I had my eye on Rendon and Miranda. And it got to my pick in round 9, and I was panicking. I literally went down to the last second, and I ended up taking Eugenio Suarez in round 9, which if I could take one pick back, that would be the one. And I really wanted Rendon. Since I didn't get those top 6 third basemen, Rendon was going to be the guy that was going to be my third baseman. And I muffed that up. And once I got Suarez, I was like, I'm not going to carry Suarez and Rendon. So much for that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I was sort of starting to feel it a little bit too. And when Rendon was there, I was very relieved, but I was like, you know what? I need one piece of insurance for Rendon here. So I'm going to just back to back Rendon and Miranda, and
yeah,
one will be third, one will be utility. And if something happens to Rendon, I'm covered. But yeah, I mean, obviously the bullpen may leave something to be desired. But I don't usually worry about that until.
Yeah, and I think there's enough pieces here that you can. It's at least it'll keep you afloat. I mean,
Yeah.
Fairbanks and Graveman and even Herget. There's guys here that will at least help carry you through that, through those saves.
Yeah. Yeah. And hey, maybe Jack Flaherty refines his form again.
And Esteury Ruiz, the A's cut Christian Pache. So he is their center fielder. So that's a very interesting pick in round 23. So good on you for that. Yeah, I like your team. I like what you did here. It's a very Mike Haber team. It's balanced. It's strong. I like your team.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I can't wait to hear what Joe and Ben say about our teams. But if anyone else wants to hear what they say about our teams, there's a part 2 of this show coming up, right, Jason?
There absolutely is. And Ben and Joe will carry the rest of the way. But until then, Mike, this has been fun. Thank you for hopping on and going through this with me.
Yeah, this is awesome. And just to put it in perspective, we have, not counting tonight, we have one more night of no baseball, and then we have 6 straight months of baseball every night.
Dude, I'm so excited. I cannot wait. Opening day is here. Baseball is here. I'm ready to go. Dude, thank you again. Guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Tune in for episode part 2 when they cover the second half of the draft. And until then, it's been real.
And it's been fun.
And it's always real fun on the bigs. We'll see you next time, guys.